Hello, HomeFound homies. We're back again with your March market update. We got a lot to go over today, but I'll try to make it quick. Interest rates, we're going to start there. Interest rates are floating anywhere between 6.5 and 7% on conventional, and the same is true but slightly lower on FHA. We've seen those rates go up and down within the week, a lot of volatility in the market. The feds have promised that we would get 3 interest rate cuts this year. We have yet to see one. I don't know when and if we will get one. What's really important to note though is that while the feds are trying to create a soft landing in the economy, the Fed fund rate, which is about 500 to 525, doesn't necessarily mean that we need that to change before we will see interest rates come down. So the Fed fund rate at 500 to 525 would ostensibly mean that interest rates should be 5% or 5.25%. So then you may ask, how then do we get to 7%? The investors who back mortgages look at the risk that's assessed in backing mortgages and they determine their margins. So they tack on a percentage and you have to pay that to them. Right now, that risk, which we call the Treasury spread, that's an analysis of risk, is at 2.85%, as high as we've seen in history. So the assessment of risk that investors are looking at in the market is very high. That's why we see these significant margins. That being said, if we continue to see good news in the economy, which we'll go into later, hopefully there will be better sentiment and the margins will decrease, investors will pull their margins back a little bit, and we will see interest rates come down whether the feds decide to do anything or not. I want to go into the active and pending report. I do this every month because it's super important. It's a real live pulse on our local market. We had 1,300 homes active in the market at the beginning of the year. We're down 100 homes, we're down to 1,200. And in the meantime, we're seeing pendings go up. So we're seeing homes hit the market, but we're seeing them get scooped up faster than new inventory is hitting. Basically, more pressure on the market. We need homes on the market right now. If you're a seller and you're thinking about selling, you could see a lot of demand on your home. Hopefully what we'll see is the weather get better and also more homes hit the market in spring. We're going to talk about 3 quick slides that have to do with the economy so you can understand why we are where we are. The first thing we're going to look at is unemployment, how many people are not or are in their jobs. Right now we have unemployment at 3.6%, which historically, as you can see, is fantastic. Low unemployment percentage means more people in their jobs. Good news, people are working and they're having income. That's awesome. If we go down and we look at what's happening with inflation, obviously we know the whole reason that the feds are raising interest rate is to slow down inflation. We saw it hit 6.4 at the height post-COVID. Since then, the feds have done a decent job of bringing inflation down. Ideally, inflation should stay about 2% every year. We're at 3.4 right now. It's come down from 6. It's not quite at 2. If we do see 2%, we're likely to see the feds continue to just hold off before they lower interest rates because they're going to want to hold at that 2% marker. So decent news, inflation is getting better. Let's go down a little bit and we're going to look at the personal savings rate. Now this is kind of fascinating information. This is basically how much of a person's income is in their savings. We saw people save mostly through the 70s and 80s. Oil crisis happened in the 90s, and things are a little bit different now. People use credit a lot more often. But if we look over here specifically, 2020, we saw people have to dip into their savings because they were out of work. And what happened then was that we had the stimulus money come in, people put money into their savings, and it went up to 11.1%. And then as soon as they got all that money, they decided to spend it again. So we go up and then we go down. We have personal savings rate at 4.5% right now, which is okay. It's not the lowest we've ever seen it, but what we would love to see is if people could save 10% of their income, if people could put just 10% more of their money into their savings over the course of the next year, we would see confidence in the market. Inflation would go down because people are spending less. They could put that money towards debt and the sentiment on the market would go down, which would make the investors lower their margins. At the end of the day, there's a lot of pieces in play, but what I think is super important is to understand that what goes down must come up. And while we are in a hard spot right now, we likely are to stay there through 2024. But with good news pending, we could see things start to heat up, and we'll probably see prices go up again. So if you're in the market or thinking about getting into the market, even though it seems hard right now, might be a good time to buy.